The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than most moons and filled with lights that blinked in patterns from 1,000 different worlds. Today, like every year for the past 50 years, representatives from across the galaxy gathered in its great hall for another meeting of the Galactic Council. Captain Alex Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the battleship, used defiant, watching the energy readings on his screen. The readings showed him exactly where Nexus Prime was, even though it was many light years away. His ship's sensors were that good. They could detect the massive power signatures coming from the station where all those alien species were meeting. "Sir, we're getting another transmission from the Galactic Council," said Lieutenant Kate Sullivan from her communications station. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and tired eyes. "It's another invitation to attend their meeting." Morrison nodded without looking away from his screen. "File it with the others, Lieutenant. Mark it as received but do not respond." "Yes, sir." "That makes 127 invitations we've received and ignored." "Good. Keep counting." Morrison was 42 years old and had been in space for most of his adult life. He had gray hair at his temples and scars on his hands from years of military service. He knew exactly why Earth didn't respond to those invitations, and he knew the aliens would learn the reason soon enough. Far away on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Zethkar stood up in the great council hall. He was from the Vorthan Empire, and his species looked like large reptiles that walked on two legs. His scales were green and gold, and they shimmered when he was angry. Right now, they were shimmering a lot. "Fellow council members," Zethkar said, his voice carrying across the huge room, "we must discuss the Earth problem once again." The hall was enormous, big enough to hold representatives from 847 different species. Some looked like humans, others like animals from Earth, and many looked like nothing anyone from Earth had ever seen. They had been coming to these meetings for decades, and every time, one seat remained empty, the seat marked for Earth. "The humans have ignored every message we have sent them," Zethkar continued. "They have rejected every trade offer, every cultural exchange, every attempt at friendship. For 52 standard years, they have spoken to no one." A being that looked like a giant butterfly made of crystal floated up from her seat. This was Ambassador Ethes from the Etherian Collective. Her voice sounded like wind chimes when she spoke. "Perhaps they simply wish to be left alone," she said. "Not all species desire contact with the wider galaxy. We should respect their choice." "But they have faster than light travel," growled War Master Gorthic from across the room. He was from the Cronin Federation, and his species looked like massive insects with 4 arms and mandibles that could crush steel. "Any species with that?" "Technology represents a potential threat if they refuse to talk." "A threat to what?" asked Admiral Nextara from the water world of Aquatica. Her people looked like dolphins that had grown arms and legs. "They have never attacked anyone. They have never even left their home system as far as we know." "That's exactly the problem," Zethkar said. "We don't know anything about them. They could be building weapons, planning attacks, or developing technologies we've never seen. Their silence is suspicious." Back on Earth, in a bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Jack Henderson reviewed reports with his staff. Henderson was 58 years old, with white hair and blue eyes that had seen too much. The room around him was filled with holographic displays showing information that would have shocked the Galactic Council. "Give me the latest production numbers," Henderson said to Colonel Lisa Barnes, his aide. She was 35, with red hair and a no-nonsense attitude that made her perfect for her job. "Yes, sir. We now have 1,000 warships fully operational," Barnes reported. "All crews are trained and ready. The shipyards on Mars, Europa, and Titan are working at full capacity. And the weapon systems, all tested and functional. The new plasma cannons are 40% more powerful than our previous models. The shield generators can withstand anything in our database of alien weapons." Henderson nodded and turned to another officer. "Commander Ryan Hayes, what's our intelligence situation?" Hayes was a thin man with dark hair and glasses who looked more like a professor than a soldier. Sir, we've been monitoring all Galactic Council communications for the past 50 years. We know their ship designs, their weapon capabilities, their political situations, and their military strategies. They think we're hiding from them, but we've been watching them the whole time. And they have no idea? None, sir. Our stealth technology is decades ahead of anything they have. We've had ships in their space for years, and they've never detected us. Henderson walked to a large window that looked out over the underground facility. Through the reinforced glass he could see massive factories where humans worked alongside robots to build weapons and ships. The facility stretched for miles in every direction, all of it hidden beneath the Earth's surface. Sir, Hayes said quietly, the Galactic Council is meeting today. They're discussing us again. Let them discuss, Henderson said. They've been talking about the Earth problem for 50 years. Maybe it's time they learned what the real problem is. On Nexus Prime, the debate continued. Some species wanted to send military ships to Earth's solar system to demand answers. Others wanted to leave the humans alone. A few suggested that maybe Earth's government had fallen and there was no one left to answer their messages. We could send a small diplomatic mission, suggested Ambassador Kelter from the Centauri Federation. His people looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin, and just a few ships to establish contact. We've tried that, Zethkar replied. 17 different species have sent diplomatic missions to Earth over the past 50 years. Every single ship that entered their solar system simply disappeared. Disappeared? Ethes's crystal form shimmered with concern. You mean they were destroyed? We don't know. No debris, no distress signals, no evidence of battle. The ships just vanished as if they never existed. The hall fell silent as the representatives considered this information. War Master Gorthic's mandibles clicked together, a sign that he was thinking about violence. Admiral Nextara-S large eyes showed worry. Even the peaceful Etherians seemed disturbed by the news. Back on the U's Defiant, Morrison received a message from Earth that made him smile for the first time in months. He read it twice, then called his communications officer. Lieutenant Sullivan, prepare a message for transmission to Nexus Prime. Sir, are you sure? We've never responded to them before? I'm sure. Send this message. Earth acknowledges invitation to Galactic Council Session 128. Human delegation will attend. Prepare appropriate accommodations. Sullivan stared at him. Just like that, sir? Just like that. And, Lieutenant, use the strongest transmission we have. Make sure every species in the galaxy receives this message. As the message traveled through space at faster-than-light speed, Morrison turned to his tactical officer. Commander Peter Walsh, signal the fleet. It's time to show the galaxy what we've been doing for the past 50 years. The message reached Nexus Prime in the middle of the council debate. When the communication systems announced an incoming transmission from Earth, the entire hall fell silent. After 50 years of silence, the humans were finally ready to talk, but they had no idea what humanity was really ready to do. The message from Earth hit the Galactic Council like a lightning bolt. For the first time in 50 years, the humans had spoken. The simple words appeared on every screen in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime, and 847 different species read them with shock and confusion. Ambassador Zethkar stood frozen at his speaking platform, his green and gold scales now shimmering with a different kind of emotion, not anger this time, but fear. The message was written in perfect Galactic Standard, the official language used by all council members. This meant the humans had been learning their language all along. Emergency session, Zethkar announced, his voice shaking slightly. All representatives must contact their homeworlds immediately. We need instructions on how to handle this situation. War Master Gorthic's forearms moved quickly as he activated his communication device. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. This changes everything, he said to his aide. If the humans have been silent for 50 years and now suddenly want to talk, they must have a reason. And I don't think we're going to like that reason. Admiral Nextara from the water world of Aquatica was already reviewing her fleet's sensor records. Her large, dolphin-like eyes focused on the data streaming across her screen. Something had been bothering her for months, and now she was starting to understand what it was. "Subcommander Veleran," she called to her tactical officer, "show me those gravitational anomalies we detected near the borders of human space." Veleran was younger than his admiral, with the same dolphin-like features but silver-blue skin instead of gray. He brought up the sensor data on the main display. "Here, Admiral. We've been detecting these strange readings for the past 6 months. They appear to be large objects moving at incredible speeds." "How large?" "Based on the gravitational displacement, each object would have to be at least 1 kilometer long." "But that's impossible. No known species builds ships that big." Admiral Nextara studied the data more carefully. The patterns showed dozens of massive objects moving in perfect formation through space near Earth's territory. The power signatures were unlike anything in their databases. "Sub-Commander, how many of these anomalies have we detected?" "Over 200 so far, Admiral, and the number keeps growing." Far away, in the war room of the Cronin flagship Dominion's Fist, War Master Gorthik was receiving similar reports. His intelligence chief, Captain Varthok, stood before him with data that made the massive warrior's skin crawl. "War Master, we've sent 17 different probe ships toward Earth over the past 5 years, Varthok reported. "Every single one has vanished without a trace." "Define vanished," Gorthik growled. "No debris, no distress signals, no evidence of weapons fire. The ships simply stop transmitting the moment they cross into the outer edge of the human solar system. It's as if they never existed." Gorthik's mandibles clicked together in thought. His species had conquered dozens of worlds through superior military strength, but this was different. An enemy you couldn't see or understand was far more dangerous than one you could fight. "What about our long-range sensors? Can we detect any human ships?" "That's the problem, War Master. We can't detect anything. Our sensors show the human solar system as completely empty except for their planets." "But that's impossible. Any species with faster-than-light travel must have ships." Meanwhile, on Mars, the massive shipyards of New Olympia were working at full capacity. Admiral Morrison had arrived from the UES Defiant to oversee the final preparations. The sight before him would have terrified any alien who could see it. Hundreds of ships floated in the construction bays, each one sleek and angular with a design that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The ships were black as space itself, and their hulls were made of materials that didn't exist in any alien database. "How many are ready for deployment?" Morrison asked his chief engineer, Captain Ben Rodriguez. Rodriguez was a stocky man with dark hair and hands that were permanently stained with engine grease. He had been building ships for 20 years and had never seen anything like these vessels. "All 1,000 ships are fully operational, Admiral. Crews are trained and ready. The new stealth systems are working perfectly. We could fly these ships right through the middle of an alien fleet, and they would never know we were there. And the weapons? Tested and functional. The plasma cannons can punch through any known alien shield. The missile systems have a range of 50,000 kilometers. And the defensive systems," Rodriguez paused and grinned. "Let's just say it would take a very large fleet to even scratch one of our ships." Morrison nodded and activated his communication device. "All ship captains, this is Admiral Morrison. Prepare your vessels for immediate departure. We're going to show the galaxy what Earth has been building for the past 50 years. On Earth." In the underground bunkers of the Global Defense Council, President Claire Davidson was addressing the leaders of every nation. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much of politics and war. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "today we end 50 years of isolation. Our analysis of galactic civilization is complete. We know their strengths, their weaknesses, their fears, and their desires. We know which species can be trusted and which ones represent threats to galactic peace. Are we really ready for this?" asked General Mike Thompson, the head of North American Defense. "We're talking about making contact with hundreds of alien species. What if they unite against us? They won't unite, Davidson replied confidently. Our intelligence reports show that the galaxy is divided into dozens of competing factions. The Cronin Federation wants to expand their empire. The Etherian Collective is facing a population crisis. The Vorthan Empire controls most of the trade routes and charges unfair prices. They all have problems and they all need solutions. And we're going to provide those solutions? Asked Admiral Sarah Mitchell, the head of the European Space Command. We're going to provide stability, Davidson corrected. The galaxy has been fighting small wars and border disputes for centuries. They need someone to enforce peace. Someone with the military strength to make the warring factions listen. On Nexus Prime, the emergency session was reaching a crisis point. Representatives from dozens of species were arguing about how to respond to Earth's message. Some wanted to welcome the humans with open arms. Others wanted to prepare for war. We should send a small diplomatic mission to escort them here, suggested Ambassador Kelter from the Centauri Federation. Show them that we come in peace. Are you insane? War Master Gorthik snapped. They've been silent for 50 years and now they suddenly want to talk? This is obviously a trap. Or perhaps they've been preparing, said Ambassador Ethes, her crystal form shimmering with worry. 50 years is a long time. If they've been building ships and weapons during their silence, then we need to be ready for anything, Zethkar concluded. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor of allowing the human delegation to attend the next council session. The vote was close. 423 species voted in favor, 424 voted against. The deciding vote came from the smallest species in the council, the pixie-like Zephyrians. We vote yes, said their tiny representative. Everyone deserves a chance to speak. As the vote was announced, sensors throughout the galaxy began detecting something impossible. Energy signatures unlike anything they had ever seen were moving through space at incredible speeds. The signatures were heading toward Nexus Prime. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Morrison smiled as he watched the fleet move into formation around his flagship. 1,000 ships, each one invisible to alien sensors, each one capable of destroying vessels 10 times their size. Communications, send a message to Nexus Prime, he ordered. Tell them the human delegation is on its way. And Lieutenant Sullivan, yes, sir? Tell them to prepare for a demonstration of what Earth has been doing during our 50 years of silence. The message reached Nexus Prime just as the alien sensor networks detected the approaching fleet. For the first time in galactic history, every species in the Council was united in one emotion, absolute terror. The humans weren't coming to talk. They were coming to change everything. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus Prime system, and every sensor in the galaxy screamed in alarm. 1,000 warships appeared in perfect formation, their black hulls gleaming with an inner light that seemed to absorb the stars around them. The sight was so shocking that several alien species thought their sensor equipment was broken. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the readings on his tactical display. His ship was at the center of the formation, surrounded by 999 other vessels that moved like parts of a single organism. Each ship was a kilometer long and bristled with weapons that radiated energy signatures unlike anything in the galactic databases. Tactical report, Morrison ordered. Commander Peter Walsh, his tactical officer, studied the data streaming across his screen. Walsh was a young man with blonde hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Sir, we're being scanned by over 200 alien vessels. They're trying to analyze our ships, but our stealth systems are blocking most of their sensors. Good, let them see what we want them to see, nothing more. On Nexus Prime, the emergency alert systems were howling. The massive space station had never detected such a large fleet appearing so suddenly. In the Great Council Hall, representatives from 847 species stared at the displays showing the human formation. War Master Gorthik was the first to react. His 4 arms moved quickly as he activated his communication system. All Cronin vessels assume battle positions. Power up weapons and prepare for combat. Wait, said Admiral Nextara, rising from her seat. "Look at their formation. They're not attacking, they're protecting something." She was right. The human ships were arranged in a complex pattern that popped the strongest vessels on the outside, while smaller ships formed protective layers around a single ship in the center. It was the formation of a species that expected to be attacked, not one that was planning to attack. Ambassador Zethkar's scales were shimmering with panic. How did they build so many ships? Our intelligence report said they never left their home system. Our intelligence reports were wrong, growled War Master Gorthok. They've been building in secret for 50 years. This is exactly what I warned the Council about. The massive Kronan dreadnought Dominion's Fist moved to intercept the human fleet, its weapons charging with energy that made the space around it glow red. Captain Varthok, Gorthok's intelligence chief, watched the tactical display with growing concern. War Master, our computers are analyzing the human formation. The results are disturbing. What do you mean? They're positioned to engage all 200 of our vessels simultaneously while maintaining defensive coverage for their own force. Either they're incredibly skilled tacticians or they have weapon systems far superior to ours. Back on the human flagship, Morrison received reports from across his fleet. Each ship captain was reporting the same thing. The aliens were moving into attack positions, but they were doing it slowly and with obvious hesitation. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, his communications officer, "we're receiving multiple hails from the alien vessels. They want to know our intentions." Morrison smiled. Foster was barely 23 years old, fresh out of the academy, but she had already proven herself capable of handling the most complex alien communication protocols. "Tell them we're here for the council meeting as requested, nothing more." "Sir." "Should I mention that we're also ready to defend ourselves if necessary?" "No need, Lieutenant. I think they can figure that out for themselves." Captain Ben Rodriguez commanded the UES Thunderbolt, one of the escort vessels positioned near the flagship. His ship was smaller than the Defiant, but just as deadly. Rodriguez had been in space combat for 15 years and had never seen anything like the alien reaction to their arrival. "They're scared," he told his crew. "Look at their formations. They're trying to surround us, but they're keeping their distance. They want to fight, but they're afraid to start." On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Lieutenant Paul Mitchell monitored the alien communications. Mitchell was a thin man with dark hair who spoke 7 alien languages fluently. "Captain, I'm picking up chatter between the alien ships. They're trying to coordinate their response, but they can't agree on what to do." "What are they saying?" "The Kronan want to attack immediately. The Etherians want to negotiate. The Nautilians are suggesting a defensive formation. And the Vorthans are trying to analyze our weapon systems." Rodriguez nodded. "Keep monitoring. If they decide to attack, we need to know before they do." In the depths of space, the human fleet continued its slow approach toward Nexus Prime. Each ship maintained perfect position relative to the others, creating a formation that looked like a vast geometric pattern against the stars. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Dr. Helen Carter sat in the shuttle bay of the UES Defiant, preparing for her historic mission. She was Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council, a woman in her 40s with brown hair and calm eyes that had seen years of diplomatic training. Unlike the military personnel around her, she wore simple civilian clothes and carried nothing more threatening than a briefcase. "Are you ready for this, Doctor?" asked Captain John Hayes, the Marine officer assigned to escort her to the station. Carter smiled. "I've been preparing for this moment for 10 years, Captain. I know more about galactic politics than most of the aliens sitting in that council hall. And if they try to arrest you, then you and your Marines will escort me back to this ship, and Admiral Morrison will demonstrate why that was a bad idea." On Nexus Prime, the council was in chaos. Ambassador Zethkar was trying to maintain order, but representatives from dozens of species were all talking at once. Some wanted to welcome the humans, others wanted to demand they leave, and a few were suggesting they should evacuate the station immediately. "Order!" Zethkar shouted, his voice echoing through the great hall. We must decide how to respond to this situation. War Master Gorthok stood up, his massive form towering over the other representatives. The response is simple. We demand that the humans withdraw their fleet immediately. If they refuse, we attack. With what? Asked Admiral Nextara. Your computers just told you that their formation can engage all of our ships simultaneously. Are you willing to start a war we might not be able to win? We outnumber them 2-1, Gorthok replied. Numbers don't matter if their ships are more advanced than ours, said Ambassador Ethes. And from what our sensors are telling us, they are far more advanced. The debate continued as the human fleet drew closer to the station. Soon, the massive formation was visible through the station's windows, a sight that made even the bravest aliens feel small and insignificant. Morrison received a transmission from the station requesting permission to dock. The message was polite, but formal, exactly what he had expected. Lieutenant Foster, respond that we request docking permission for our diplomatic shuttle. Our fleet will maintain position here. So they're asking if we need so many ships for a diplomatic mission. Tell them we bring adequate protection for our delegation, as is our right under galactic law. The response caused another uproar in the council hall. The humans knew galactic law well enough to quote it correctly, which meant they had been studying it for years. The implications were terrifying. As the human shuttle approached the docking bay, every alien on the station watched with a mixture of curiosity and fear. They were about to meet the species that had remained silent for 50 years, then appeared with the largest fleet in galactic history. Dr. Carter checked her equipment one final time. In her briefcase were documents that would change galactic politics forever. The aliens thought they were meeting Earth's diplomatic delegation. They had no idea they were about to meet the species that had been quietly preparing to reshape their entire civilization. The shuttle docked with a soft thud, and the airlock cycled open. Dr. Helen Carter stepped onto Nexus Prime, becoming the first human to officially set foot on an alien world. Behind her, visible through the station's windows, 1,000 warships waited in perfect formation, their weapons powered down but ready. The message was clear. Humanity had come to talk, but they were prepared for anything. The galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Helen Carter walked into the Galactic Council chambers, and every conversation stopped. 847 different species turned to watch as she made her way to the seat that had been empty for 50 years. Her footsteps echoed in the massive hall as she moved with quiet confidence, showing no fear despite being surrounded by aliens who could destroy her world. She reached the Earth seat and paused, looking around the chamber with calm eyes. Then she spoke, and her first words shocked everyone present. Greetings, honored representatives, she said in perfect galactic standard. I am Dr. Helen Carter, Earth's ambassador to this council. I apologize for our long absence, but we needed time to prepare. Ambassador Zethkar's scales shimmered with confusion. Not only was the human speaking their language perfectly, but she sounded like she had been speaking it for years. Ambassador Carter, welcome to the Galactic Council. May I ask how you learned our language? Carter smiled and switched to Vorthan, Zethkar's native tongue. We have been listening to your broadcasts for 50 years, Ambassador Zethkar. We know 17 different galactic languages. She turned to Admiral Nextara and spoke in Nautilian. We know about your people's water shortage crisis. Then she faced War Master Gorthok and spoke in Cronan. And we know about your empire's expansion plans. The chamber erupted in shocked voices as representatives realized what this meant. The humans had been secretly monitoring galactic civilization for decades, learning their languages, studying their cultures, and watching their every move. War Master Gorthok stood up, his massive form bristling with anger. You have been spying on us. This is an act of war. No, Carter replied calmly, switching back to galactic standard. This is an act of preparation. We needed to understand galactic civilization before we joined it. Now we do. Understand what exactly? demanded Ambassador Zethkar. Carter opened her briefcase and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing detailed information about every species present. We know about the Kronan Federation's plan to invade the Outer Rim colonies within the next 5 years, she said, looking directly at Gorthik. We know about the Vorthan Empire's illegal trade monopolies that are starving smaller species. We know about the Etherian Collective's population crisis and their secret terraforming projects. Admiral Nextara's large eyes widened with shock. How could you possibly know about our internal affairs? Because we have been watching, Carter replied simply. Our ships have been in your space for years, invisible to your sensors, recording everything. We know your ship designs, your weapon capabilities, your political situations, and your military strategies. Captain Rodriguez, monitoring the diplomatic session from the UZ's Thunderbolt, received urgent reports from his sensor officer. Captain, we're detecting multiple alien fleets arriving at the system's edge. It looks like they're trying to surround us. Rodriguez studied the tactical display. Kronan dreadnoughts, Vorthan cruisers, and ships from a dozen other species were moving into position around the human fleet. How many ships total? Over 500, sir. They're trying to box us in. Let them try, Rodriguez said calmly. Signal the fleet. Rotate formation to maintain optimal firing solutions on all approaching vessels. But do not power weapons unless they fire first. Back in the council chamber, Carter was revealing the true scope of humanity's knowledge. She displayed detailed maps of alien territory, showing trade routes, military bases, and resource deposits that were supposed to be secret. This is impossible, said Ambassador Kelter from the Centauri Federation. Our security systems would have detected any spy ships. Your security systems are designed to detect alien technology, Carter explained. Our ships use completely different principles. Stealth technology, energy dampening fields, and hull materials that don't appear on any of your sensors. War Master Gorthik's mandibles clicked together in fury. You claim to come in peace, but you bring 1,000 warships and admit to spying on us for decades. Explain how this is not an act of aggression. Carter's expression became serious. Because, War Master, we have been trying to prevent galactic war, not start one. She pressed another button on her device, and new displays appeared showing conflict zones throughout the galaxy. In the past 50 years, we have identified 17 different situations that could lead to major wars. Border disputes, resource conflicts, trade disagreements, and territorial expansions that would devastate entire sectors. And what gives you the right to interfere in our affairs? Demanded Zethkar. The same right that gives you the authority to invite us to join your council, Carter replied. We are a galactic species now, whether you like it or not. Our choice is simple. We can work together to solve these problems, or we can watch the galaxy tear itself apart. Ambassador Ethes floated forward, her crystal form shimmering with concern. You speak of preventing war, but you arrive with the largest military fleet in galactic history. How do we know you won't use those ships to conquer us? Because, Carter said, pulling out another document, conquest was never our goal. Stability is. The document she displayed showed detailed analysis of every major conflict in galactic history. Trade wars, territorial disputes, resource shortages, and political disagreements that had killed billions of beings over the centuries. Your species fight the same wars over and over again, Carter explained. The Kronan expand until someone stops them, then retreat and plan their next expansion. The Vorthans control trade routes until smaller species rebel, then negotiate temporary agreements that solve nothing. The pattern repeats every few decades. What are you suggesting? Asked Admiral Nextara. That it's time to break the pattern, Carter said firmly. Earth proposes to join the Galactic Council with full membership rights. In exchange, we will provide our analysis and assistance in solving the conflicts that have plagued this galaxy for centuries. War Master Gorthik laughed, a sound like grinding metal. And if we refuse? Carter looked directly at him, her expression calm but determined. Then you will continue fighting the same wars, making the same mistakes and killing the same people. While we watch from our corner of the galaxy, the choice is yours. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Through the massive windows, the alien representatives could see the human fleet maintaining perfect formation despite being surrounded by hundreds of enemy ships. The humans weren't backing down, but they weren't attacking either. You want us to accept you as equals based on threats? Zethkar asked. No, Carter replied. We want you to accept us as equals based on results. She activated one final display, showing detailed solutions to the 17 conflicts she had mentioned earlier. Trade agreements that would benefit everyone, territorial arrangements that would end border disputes, and resource-sharing programs that would eliminate the need for wars. These are not theories, she said. These are tested solutions based on 50 years of analysis and observation. We know they will work because we have studied every similar situation in galactic history. Admiral Nextara studied the proposals with growing amazement. These solutions, they could actually work. The water rights agreement alone would solve disputes that have lasted for centuries. But why should we trust you? Gorthik demanded. You come here with overwhelming force and expect us to believe you want peace? Carter smiled. Because War Master, if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would have done it already. We've had ships in your space for years. We know the location of every military base, every shipyard, every government center. We could have struck without warning and won before. You knew we existed. The truth of her words hit the chamber like a physical blow. The humans could have attacked at any time during the past 50 years, when the galaxy was unprepared and unsuspecting. Instead, they had chosen to watch, learn, and prepare for this moment. So what do you want from us? Asked Ambassador Ethes. Partnership, Carter said simply. Earth will join the Galactic Council as a full member. We will share our technology, our knowledge, and our military strength to maintain galactic peace. In return, we ask for recognition of our territorial claims and the right to participate in all Council decisions. And if we refuse? Zethkar asked quietly. Carter looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from hundreds of different worlds. Then we return to our corner of the galaxy and wait for you to realize that you need our help. But by then, it may be too late to prevent the wars that are coming. Outside, the standoff continued as more alien ships arrived to face the human fleet. Inside the council chamber, 847 species prepared to make the most important decision in galactic history. The humans had made their offer. Now, the galaxy had to decide whether to accept partnership or face the consequences of continued isolation from the most powerful military force they had ever encountered. The Galactic Council faced a crisis unlike anything in their history. For 3 hours, representatives from 847 species debated humanity's proposal while 1,000 human warships waited in space around them. The great chamber buzzed with urgent conversations in dozens of languages as species contacted their homeworlds for instructions. Ambassador Zethkar called for order repeatedly, but the chaos continued. Some species wanted to accept Earth's offer immediately. Others demanded that the humans withdraw their fleet before any negotiations could begin. A few suggested that the Council should evacuate the station and deal with the humans later. War Master Gorthik stood at his position, his forearms crossed and his mandibles clicking with anger. He had been in contact with the Cronin High Command for the past hour, and their instructions were clear. Humanity represented a threat that could not be allowed to grow stronger. The Cronin Federation will never accept these humans as equals, he announced to the chamber. They come here with weapons and demands, claiming they want peace while demonstrating their ability to destroy us all. But their proposals make sense, argued Ambassador Kelter from the Centauri Federation. The trade agreements they've outlined could benefit everyone. Their solutions to our border disputes are more detailed than anything our own analysts have produced. Admiral Nextara studied the data streaming across her personal display. Her intelligence officers had been analyzing the human fleet for hours, and the results were disturbing. The humans have technological advantages we don't understand, she said quietly. Our sensors can barely detect their ships even when we know where they are. On the human flagship UES Defiant, Admiral Morrison received updates from across the galaxy. His intelligence networks, hidden for decades, were reporting military mobilizations on dozens of worlds as species prepared for possible war. "Admiral," reported Commander Julie Barnes, his intelligence officer, "we're detecting fleet movements throughout the galaxy. The Vorthens are mobilizing their battle groups. The Andromedans are recalling their deep space patrols. Even the peaceful Etherians are moving their defense fleets to border positions." Morrison nodded calmly, expected response. "They're preparing for war while hoping for..." "How many total ships are moving against us?" "Current count is over 3,000 vessels from 17 different species. They're trying to coordinate a unified response." "And our fleet status?" "All 1,000 ships remain at full readiness. Stealth systems operational, weapons powered but not targeted. We're ready for anything they might try." Back in the council chamber, the first species to break ranks surprised everyone. Ambassador Ethes of the Etherian Collective floated to the center of the hall, her crystal form shimmering with decision. "The Etherian Collective wishes to speak," she announced. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to her. The Etherians were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful mediators who rarely took strong positions on anything. "We have listened to the human proposals," Ethes continued. "We have studied their solutions to galactic conflicts. We have considered their offer of partnership." She paused, her form glowing brighter. "The Etherian Collective votes to accept humanity's membership in the Galactic Council." The announcement sent shockwaves through the chamber. If the peaceful Etherians supported the humans, other species might follow their lead. War Master Gorthex. Response was immediate and furious. "The Etherians have always been weak. They fear conflict so much they would surrender to anyone with a strong fleet." "We fear unnecessary death," Ethes replied calmly. "The humans offer solutions that could prevent the wars you seem so eager to fight." Admiral Nextara was next to speak. She had been studying the human proposals for hours, and her conclusion surprised even herself. "The Nautilian Federation also supports human membership in the Council." "Admiral!" gasped Sub-Commander Veleron from his position behind her. "Are you certain?" "Our military advisors recommend caution." "Our military advisors are thinking like warriors instead of leaders," Nextara replied. "The humans have had years to attack us if that was their goal. Instead, they offer partnership and solutions to problems that have plagued us for centuries." The political momentum began shifting as smaller species voiced their support for humanity's proposal. The Zephyrians, despite their tiny size, carried significant moral authority in the council. Their representatives stood on her platform and spoke in a voice like silver bells. "The Zephyrian Coalition has reviewed the human proposals. Their solutions to resource disputes could save millions of lives. We support their membership." Captain Rodriguez monitored the diplomatic proceedings from the UES Thunderbolt, while keeping watch on the growing alien fleet surrounding them. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Paul Mitchell, provided continuous updates on enemy movements. "Captain, the alien fleet now includes ships from 23 different species. They're trying to form a unified command structure, but their coordination is poor." "Expected," Rodriguez replied. "They've never had to work together like this before. How are our stealth ships positioned?" "Shadow Fleet is in position behind their formation. They still don't know we have another 200 ships that they can't see." Meanwhile, on Earth, President Claire Davidson watched the proceedings from the Global Defense Council headquarters. The underground bunker was filled with displays showing ship movements throughout the galaxy as humanity's fate was decided by alien votes. "How many species have declared support?" she asked General Mike Thompson. 43 so far, Madame President. But the major military powers are still opposed. The Cronins, Vorthens, and Andromedans control enough votes to block membership if they unite against us. And if they do? Thompson's expression was grim. Then we implement Protocol 7 and prepare for the largest space battle in Galactic history. In the council chamber, the debate reached a crucial moment when Ambassador Zethkar called for formal testimony from species that had encountered human assistance in the past. The results shocked many representatives. The Rigelian Mining Consortium wishes to speak, announced a small, rocky creature from the outer territories. 3 years ago, our colony ships were attacked by pirates in the Vega sector. Our distress calls were ignored by council forces, but unknown vessels appeared and drove off the attackers. We now know those ships were human. Similar testimonies followed from a dozen different species. Medical supplies that appeared mysteriously during plagues. Rescue ships that arrived during natural disasters. Military assistance that drove off pirates and raiders. Always anonymous, always effective. Always gone before official forces arrived. The revelations changed the entire discussion. The humans hadn't been hiding from galactic civilization. They had been secretly helping it. War-Master Gorthek made one final attempt to rally opposition to humanity's membership. These stories prove nothing. The humans could have been gathering intelligence while pretending to help. We cannot trust a species that hides in shadows. Dr. Carter stood up from the Earth seat and addressed Gorthek directly. War Master, your own homeworld of Kronos received medical supplies during the Red Plague outbreak 5 years ago. Those supplies saved 2 million Kronan lives. They came from Earth. Gorthek's mandibles stopped clicking. His people had always wondered where those crucial medical supplies had come from during their darkest hour. The timing had been perfect, the medicines exactly what they needed, but no species had claimed credit. You saved my people? We saved everyone we could, Carter replied simply. That's what civilized species do for each other. The great chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans had been secretly helping galactic civilization for years, asking for nothing in return, revealing themselves only when they were ready to take their place as equals. Ambassador Zethkar called for the final vote. All species in favor of accepting Earth as a full member of the Galactic Council? The count began. Etherian Collective, yes. Nautilian Federation, yes. Centauri Federation, yes. Zephyrian Coalition, yes. The numbers climbed steadily as smaller species followed the lead of the major powers that had already declared support. When the count reached 400 votes in favor, humanity's membership was guaranteed. But the final tally shocked everyone. 424 in favor, 398 opposed, 25 abstentions. Dr. Carter stood and bowed to the assembled representatives. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I accept membership in the Galactic Council. We look forward to working with all of you to build a better future for the galaxy. Outside, the human fleet maintained its formation while alien ships slowly began standing down from battle readiness. The crisis was over, but the real work was just beginning. War Master Gorthek remained in his seat, staring at the human ambassador who had just revealed that her people had saved his world. For the first time in his military career, he wondered if there might be something more important than preparing for the next war. The galaxy had chosen partnership over conflict, but the consequences of that choice would reshape civilization itself. 6 months after the historic vote that changed the galaxy forever, the first joint human-alien operation was taking place in the Outer Rim territories. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, but he was no longer alone. Beside him stood Admiral Nextara of the Nautilian Federation and Captain Varthok of the Reformed Kronan Defense Force. Sensor report, Morrison requested. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan, now promoted to commander, studied her displays carefully. Sir, we're detecting 15 Veyrat vessels in the asteroid field ahead. They appear to be holding 3 civilian ships. Hostage? Confirmed, added Varthok, checking his own sensors. The Kronan officer had requested assignment to the Joint Fleet after War Master Gorthek stepped down from military command. My ships detect the same targets. The pirates are using Andromeda-class raiders, heavily armed but poorly organized. Admiral Nextara's large eyes focused on the tactical display. My people know these waters well. There are hidden passages through the asteroids that would allow us to approach without being detected, Morrison nodded. Excellent. Commander Sullivan, Signal the fleet, all ships prepare for coordinated assault. Nautilian vessels will guide us through the passages. Kronan ships will provide heavy firepower, and human vessels will handle electronic warfare. The operation that followed would have been impossible 6 months earlier. Ships from 3 different species worked together with perfect coordination, using each other's strengths to overcome the pirate threat without a single civilian casualty. It was the kind of cooperation that Dr. Carter had promised when humanity first joined the Council. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was meeting again, but everything had changed. The Great Chamber now had a different feeling to it. Instead of the constant arguing and political maneuvering that had dominated previous sessions, representatives were actually working together to solve problems. Dr. Carter sat in the Earth seat, reviewing proposals for the next phase of galactic integration. Her briefcase now contained not just analysis of problems, but detailed implementation plans for solutions that were already showing results. The Terran Peace Initiative has exceeded all expectations, announced Ambassador Zethkar from his speaking platform. His scales still shimmered, but now with satisfaction rather than anger. Border disputes that have lasted for decades are being resolved through mediation rather than warfare. The results spoke for themselves. The water rights agreement between the Nautilians and Centaurians had ended a conflict that had threatened to explode into open war. The trade route sharing program had broken the Vorthan monopoly while actually increasing profits for everyone involved. Even the Kronan expansion issue had been solved by offering them leadership roles in the new joint defense fleets. Ambassador Ethes floated gracefully to the center of the chamber, her crystal form glowing with contentment. The Etherian Collective wishes to report that our population crisis has been resolved through the Human Terraforming Assistance Program. 3 new worlds are now ready for colonization. The Regelian Mining Consortium reports similar success, added the small rocky representative. Human technology has increased our mining efficiency by 300% while reducing environmental damage to near zero. Captain Rodriguez had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the Joint Fleet's Patrol Division. His ship, the UES Thunderbolt, led a formation that included vessels from 12 different species. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just months earlier. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Paul Mitchell, "we're approaching the vegan trade corridor. All civilian traffic is moving normally, no signs of pirate activity." "Excellent. Make 60 days without a single pirate attack in this sector." Rodriguez smiled as he remembered the old days when this same corridor had seen attacks almost daily. "Signal the patrol fleet. Maintain standard formation and continue monitoring." The transformation of galactic politics had been dramatic, but the real changes were happening at the individual level. War Master Gorthuk had resigned his military position to become the Kronan representative for interspecies cooperation. His people had initially been shocked by the change, but the results spoke for themselves. "Dr. Carter," Gorthuk said during a private meeting on Nexus Prime, "I owe you an apology. When your people first arrived, I saw only threats and military power. I failed to see the bigger picture." Carter smiled. The massive Kronan still looked intimidating, but his manner had changed completely. "War Master, your people have always been warriors? We simply gave you better enemies to fight. Pirates, raiders, and criminals instead of fellow council members," Gorthuk agreed. "My soldiers are happier now. They have real purpose instead of preparation for wars that might never come." The biggest changes were happening on Earth itself. President Claire Davidson stood in the new Galactic Affairs building in Geneva, watching as human and alien representatives worked together to coordinate relief efforts for a plague outbreak on Andromeda 7. "Status report," she requested from Secretary of Galactic Affairs, Tom Bradley. Bradley was a former admiral who had transitioned to diplomatic service when Earth joined the Council. "Madame President, our medical teams are working with Etherian healers and Nautilian biochemists to develop treatments. Initial results are promising. And the military situation?" Admiral Henderson reports that our joint patrol fleets have eliminated piracy in 4 major sectors. Crime rates throughout the galaxy are at historic lows. The success of human integration had surprised even Earth's most optimistic planners. Instead of resistance and conflict, they had found eager partners ready to embrace new solutions to old problems. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Admiral Morrison received a message that made him smile. It was from his old friend Captain Hayes, now commanding the newly established Galactic Peace Academy on Mars. "Morrison," the message read, "you should see what we're doing here. Human instructors teaching alien cadets, alien professors sharing knowledge with human students. We're not just building better soldiers, we're building better citizens for the galaxy." The academy had been Dr. Carter's idea, a place where young beings from all species could learn together and build the relationships that would keep the galaxy peaceful for generations to come. Commander Julie Barnes, now Admiral Morrison's Chief of Staff, presented the latest intelligence reports. "Sir, our monitoring networks report that potential conflict indicators are at the lowest levels in recorded galactic history. The 17 crisis situations we identified 6 months ago have all been resolved or are showing significant improvement." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. "And our fleet status? All 1,000 ships remain operational, but deployment has shifted from combat readiness to peacekeeping operations. Our pilots are reporting high morale and job satisfaction." The transformation had been remarkable. The same ships that had once seemed like instruments of conquest were now the backbone of galactic security, protecting trade routes, responding to emergencies, and keeping the peace between species that had been enemies for centuries. Dr. Carter's personal log entry that evening captured the magnitude of what had been accomplished. Day 183 since humanity joined the Galactic Council. The galaxy that once seemed fragmented and conflicted is becoming something none of us imagined possible, a true community of species working together for common goals. She looked out her window at Nexus Prime, where ships from dozens of worlds docked peacefully side by side. Human vessels shared berths with former enemies, their crews working together on joint missions that would have been impossible just months before. The final entry in her log summarized what Earth had really accomplished. "We didn't come to the galaxy to conquer or dominate. We came to build something better than what existed before." The 1,000 warships that once seemed so threatening have become the foundation of galactic peace. 1 year after humanity's dramatic arrival at Nexus Prime, Dr. Carter stood before the Galactic Council to announce the establishment of the Galactic Stability Institute on Earth. The facility would serve as a center for long-term analysis and crisis prevention, ensuring that the galaxy's newest members could continue helping their neighbors avoid the conflicts that had plagued galactic civilization for millennia. "Earth offers this institute as our gift to the galaxy," she announced. "A place where all species can work together to identify problems before they become wars, to find solutions before they become necessary, and to build a future worthy of our children." The applause that followed came from 847 different species, representing billions of beings who now lived in a galaxy where cooperation had replaced conflict, where problems were solved through partnership rather than warfare. Earth had skipped every galactic meeting for 50 years, then arrived with 1,000 warships. But those ships had not come to conquer. They had come to save a galaxy from itself, and in doing so had created something far greater than anyone had ever imagined possible.